7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to another special Islands Live presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We've got our friend of 342. I'm sorry, what?
Associate.
You use a different word every day. I'm going to continue to use the word friend. We've got our friend RJ, Richard Jefferson, joining us once again for a live reaction to the 2 Game 7s today. I called the Indy Knicks game, but I want to start with what I would call an upset. The Minnesota Timberwolves just defeated the Denver Nuggets in Game 7 in Denver. RJ, you called a bunch of games throughout the playoffs. I feel like we are in this right now. We are like locked and loaded with just basketball. Are you at all surprised that Minnesota was able to win this series?
I'm surprised by the whole series. Like the whole start to finish, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Minnesota went in and won 2 games in a row in dominant fashion. And Jamal Murray, the coolest of cool, lost his cool and all the chaos. I was surprised when Denver went into Minnesota and won both games, right? And then it goes, obviously they go back. So it's like, to say that I'm surprised that they won the series, I'm not surprised that they won the series. I'm just surprised by how the whole series transpired. That to me is what made it great. That's what made it mind-blowing. Like, we're going to talk about this series. We're going to reference this series for a very, very long time.
You and I, we didn't discuss anything we're going to talk about beforehand. I was going the same place. That's why I asked the question the way I did. No, I'm being serious because
stop copying my homework.
Hold on. If I would never copy your homework.
That's not true.
You were a C- student. You were a C- student.
My effort, not intelligence. Those are 2 different things.
No, but if you had said to me before the series, Minnesota's going to win this in Game 7 in Denver, I would say, oh, yeah, I could see that happening. But the way this series played out, particularly after everyone wrote off Denver after 2 games, there were all these calls for the Jokic third MVP being fraudulent. I feel like that guy's going to probably win a couple more and he'll get called, the MVP will get called fraudulent again. But again, it's a regular season award. I was surprised at the absolute ass whooping that Minnesota gave Denver in Game 6. And I think what was most shocking to me was Denver being up 58-38, having complete control of this game in the second half. And then Minnesota just responds with a massive run. It felt to me like Denver's offense, in particular, got really stagnant in that second half. Murray, of course, missed some shots during that run, but felt like it was just post Jokic, double team, repost Jokic, double team, late shot clock, hoist. It just felt like that. We didn't see, especially, I would say, for most of the second half, if not all the second half, any of the movement stuff for Denver. It was all 2-man game or a Jokic post up. It never got to just a flowing offense. And I think that surprised me. The fact that Minnesota had the, mental toughness to make that run. And I'm going to get to some of the plays down the stretch that I thought were huge, but that was the part to me that was surprising, that they it's not even that they lost their composure. To me, they lost playing the way that they've played all season.
They lost who they were, and the numbers back it up, though, Jay. The numbers back it up. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic have 34 and 35. They had. So then you look at Aaron Gordon 4, Michael Porter Jr. 7, Caldwell Pope 5, and then Braun was the only person that scored off the bench. Brown. I apologize.
It's all right. I called Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nembhard, not once, but twice in the series. Once in Game 3 and once in a Game 7. I caught myself in the Game 7. I didn't realize I did in Game 3. It happened.
Utah, give me 2. No, it's just every time I see it, I say Braun, but when I talk about him, I say Brown. Whatever. I'm looking at the box score. Everybody cut me some slack. So 5 points off the bench. So to your point, they lost who they were. They lost that movement offense of you don't know who's going to beat you. Then in key moments, we go to our two-man game and it's unstoppable because everyone has a rhythm. The lob to Aaron Gordon is there, the kick out to KCP, the scramble to MPJ. So like, that's what you were saying. They lost who they were and the numbers support that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't remember many series like this that I could like in my lifetime where it's like the home team, and especially there's context behind the losses. It's not that Denver lost 2 games in a row at home. It was that they hadn't lost in 2 postseasons at home, and they were dominant and they like the elevation. So this is a dominant home team, and they come in and get smoked. And I think that's what rattled everyone. That's what rattled everyone. And then I look at the totality of the series, and it's hard to put a finger on it. What was the thing? What was the deciding factor? I'll stand by this. The worst thing that could have happened to the Denver Nuggets was playing the Lakers in the first round. I think that lulled them in because they had their number and they could do what they wanted. They could be down and start slow, and then all of a sudden you get a team that's punching you in your mouth in game 1, and they were like, "Whoa!" And so I would go to say that first round series didn't prepare them for that, and a lot of times postseason series can prepare you for the next.
Yeah, I think we both lived that. We both lived that where we maybe were on really good teams and got away with a series, or we played a team that played a bad team, and we get to the next round and we're like, they're not in the playoffs yet. We are already in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Minnesota is just, to me, a unique matchup for nearly every team, but certainly for the Denver Nuggets. And if I would describe Game 7, this whole playoffs in every single series has been very physical, but that Game 7 was very physical. And when you have physicality and size and multiple bodies, bigs and wings, I thought Anthony Edwards in the second half just taking the Murray matchup, right? Just
it looked personal.
I've got Jamal Murray. And making it tough on him. So that's what makes it unique with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We talk all the time, and I was writing this down in the first half. We talk all the time about finishing quarters, right? Creating margins by the way you finish quarters, creating margins by the way you start quarters. And you think about the way Denver finished that first half, eerily similar to the previous game when Jamal Murray hit that half-court shot. They finished the first half. It's a 10-point game. Minnesota has the ball with like a minute to go, and it ends up being a 15-point Denver lead. Mm-hmm. Well, let's flip that now at the end of the third quarter, right? It's 66-62. Ant gets the steal, goes down and dunks the ball. Then Ant hits the 3. All of a sudden, it's what was a 4-point game for Denver with the ball turns into we're down 1, and they score first time coming out. Gobert gets a bucket. So Minnesota, I thought execution-wise, like the mental toughness again to withstand some really big plays, to withstand a massive run there from Denver to end the second and start the third. Just a phenomenal basketball team. I want to give a shout out to one guy, and I'm going to give the same shout out to another guy when we talk Indy Knicks. I don't know if you know this or not, but on this channel, we did our first annual All Alfred team, which is the Derek White All-Stars. I know you hate this. I know you hate it. It's fine. It's fine. You know better than anyone else because you actually won a championship, but championship level teams have role players who step up in big moments, role players who can shift an entire series. And I just thought Nas Reed tonight, like he's been all season, was spectacular. There was a stretch there. Murray gets a bucket to cut it to 85-82. Nas Reed gets an offensive rebound, gets fouled, makes 2 free throws. Next time down the floor, Jokic has good position on him, goes up for a shot. Nas Reed gets the block. Next time down the floor, comes out of the corner, catches a miss off the rim, dunks it. Conley gets a steal. Another Alfred, by the way. Hits Edwards in the corner for 3. All of a sudden, it's a 10-point game. And those were that, Edwards hit the three, but those were role players, guys in big moments who are creating what was a one possession game, all of a sudden turning it into a double digit game. And Denver really after that, I didn't feel like had a chance.
But this, okay, I'm going to push back on the terminology being used. The sixth man of the year is not a role player. Right, I'm saying we're not going to even get technical because you're calling him an Alfred, and he's saying that he is literally the best man off the bench in the league. That means he's better than probably, I don't know, 70% of the starters, on a half of these shitty teams out there. So I would say he's above an Alfred. That's just me, right? I get your all Alfred team. I didn't watch it. I don't subscribe to your channel. So my point is this: Nas Reed was that dude. Nas Reed was 100% that dude, but he's been consistently. And the thing that I love about Nas Reed, and I remember interviewing him, we had him on Road Tripping, before all the fanfare and just, being able to spot like future great talent. Some people just do like the stars. Like we like to do the grassroots and like tell the stories early on. But the thing that I like about Nas Reed is that he is a security blanket for the bonehead mistakes that our guy makes. It's just a little frustrating when Karl-Anthony Towns does some of the things that he does, and it's the foul trouble, or it's the I'm just going to put my head down and go right and just see what happens. So Nas Reed defensively, when he has to go out the game, or when Karl-Anthony Towns has to go out the game, it's like Nas Reed time. It's seamless. Even when Rudy Gobert was out and Nas Reed was playing those extra minutes, he just fills in so many spots. And to your point, when you watch that stretch of them coming back, Ant had a couple of steals, but it wasn't like Ant going on a flurry. It wasn't just like, no, it was like defensive plays, big plays. And I was trying to explain to a friend is that you got to keep scoring against Denver. And they're like, yeah, you got to keep scoring to win the game. It's like, no. When you have them against the ropes and you score 5-6 points and you've got a 5-7 point lead, you can't have 2-3 empty possessions, because once they get the momentum, it could be gone forever. You have to keep that pressure on them. And that's where the defense, that's where the steal, the dunk, all of these things. It was big play after big play for Nas Reed, Anthony Edwards, even Conley, like the steal and just the extra effort from them.
Yeah. So I actually don't like arguing with you, but just to establish once again, because you have a hard time listening and I know you don't consume any of our content, but what's up?
No, I was agreeing with you. Agreeing with you.
So in NBA sort of terminology, right, we talk about Batmans and Robins, and that's generally considered, the two stars. So an Alfred is any sort of supporting character. The Alfred also is a star in his own way, just like Michael Caine, who played Alfred in all of the Batman movies, is a star. This guy's one of the best supporting actor, right? He's one of the greatest actors, but he's not a main character, and that's okay. But you remember him in every single movie he's in, just like you remember Nas Reed. That's what an Alfred is. It's not just a role player. You're diminishing the entire premise.
So he's kind of like Chris Farley in an Adam Sandler movie, right? I'm trying to get a better reference.
Sure, that works. Are you this you're either messing with me or you really are a C- student, or ultimately you never saw any of the Batman movies.
The fact that I'm a C- student because I don't know all of your Batman references, like what? No, I
gave three.
I had dates.
Batman, Robin, and Alfred.
I wasn't knee deep in comic books. My bad.
What?
All
right. With FYI, we're gonna do a full preview of the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow morning on the Old Man and the Three Things. This is simply a reaction video. So let's get to the Eastern Conference Game 7. In a way, you certainly celebrate what the Indiana Pacers were able to do, because I want to be clear on this. They absolutely deserve to win that series.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, today, and I would say over the last 5 games, they have been the better team. The Indiana Pacers have been the better team. We could put some context on that, of course, with some of the injuries and some of the guys being banged up, Indiana deserved to win this game. A few things that I thought were important. Number one, Haliburton just coming out. I'm going to be honest with you, RJ. I had people coming up to me, media members at the Garden. Yeah, I don't think Tyrese is ready for this. I don't think he's ready for this.
What were their names? What were their names?
I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah. I'll wait because at the end of the season we do our worst takes of the season. So
I was just checking. I was just checking.
And I was like,
I could trust you.
I think maybe he's going to be all right. And then he comes out and starts the game on fire, talking trash. Sorry, DraftKings. Talking trash. I think it's okay as long as it's not in the first 10 seconds of the video. You know what I mean? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then for Siakam, since the OG injury, last 5 games of this series, shot efficiently, averaged over 21 a game, had a big first half. Like if you're on the road in a game 7 with some guys that maybe haven't played a game 7 or haven't played in a big moment like that in the playoffs where you have a chance to go to the conference finals, your 2 stars establishing the tone early was super important. And then my third thing that I thought was great just throughout this series and in the closeout game against Milwaukee, TJ McConnell's he's incredible. He's incredible. He really is. He's incredible.
TJ McConnell he's different. And the way he's been playing in this whole entire postseason has been kudos to him. I don't know what his contract situation is, but get that man.
He's got a partial guarantee on his on the next season.
He's got partial guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, if Indiana was, Kevin Pritchard's a smart guy. I mean, he's a smart guy. This guy's beloved. He's beloved there. Lock him up long term.
He's an Arizona Wildcat. The last 2, in my opinion, great teams we had, he was at the helm at Arizona. So I was familiar with his work and I knew who he was. I saw him as a point guard. I saw him run the show. I saw he couldn't shoot, but he was picking up 94 feet. He was full court pressing everyone the whole time, right? That was kind of his mentality. So I was never surprised to see his success, even early on in Indiana after they signed him away from Philly, I think. He wasn't playing. He was like in and out of the rotations, and then they got a good team, and then the value of a heady, steady guy kind of came out. But yes, to me, he was kind of the surprise guy that it's like he could still play because look, the New York Knicks, their guards are pretty good, right? He technically shouldn't have the advantage over DiVincenzo, over Josh Hart, over Brunson. These guys should be able to at least dominate that matchup. But time and time again, he's been effective. It's hard to break down this series, man. You got to give the Knicks all the love. You got to give them all the love. The minutes, the injuries, like so many guys, Hartenstein, some of the you can't just go to the well. The well will run dry. You can't go there so many times. And it was just like, okay, we got an injury, another guy's going to step up. Okay, we got an injury, another guy. After a while, there's not enough guys. Even in this game, Brunson goes out. DiVincenzo's like, here, I'll give you a damn near 40 ball in a game 7. Like, I don't know. Just watching this series, I just think it was hard to kind of evaluate. We can give love to individual players and individual performances, but is this a true? Did I think that this would go this way if there was a little bit more health on the Knicks side? I think the Knicks were the better team. The Pacers played better. The Pacers played better. And that's the part that you give them all the love, all the credit. They know sometimes you dodge a bullet. If you get a team and they're banged up, handle your business, which they did, and move on. But they're not going to sit up here and say, oh, we would have crushed them had they been fully healthy.
Yeah. It's interesting. And this was very obvious throughout the series, but there definitely was like a strategic choice and an emphasis on just playing fast. And I don't mean, hey, we're just going to run and try to score in transition. Of course, the Pacers want to do that. But they were like this all season. But this is where your identity as a team in the playoffs can matter. This is who they were offensively all season. All of a sudden, you're in a position where you're playing a shorthanded team. And it's like every single time the ball goes through the net, every single time you get a defensive rebound, it's a track meet, right? So it's getting back on defense. And then once you're back, think about like possessions that started like this. Defensive rebound, throw ahead pass to Haliburton or Nembhard, cross-court pass to a guy running up the wing, swing to the corner, side pick and roll, swing to a dribble handoff, roll, throw it to the opposite corner, close out, drive, kick, cut, drive, kick. Like they just make you work defensively on every possession. Then all of a sudden, they've got 3 guys in the backcourt picking you up on the defensive end. Like
they're not as friendly, but it sounds a lot like Minnesota. It's like Minnesota has all these dudes, and all of a sudden you got 3 bulldogs and you got the Tower of Pisa behind them. Yeah. Like, look, Jamal Murray is that dude, but you could tell he was frustrated. He's like, damn.
Yeah. Just Jalen's that dude, obviously, of course, but yeah. I'm just saying, like, to your point, there is a physical limit to energy. There's a physical limit to exertion, and if you don't have enough bodies like that does matter. I'm not going to go as far as say like, oh, if the Knicks were healthy, they definitely were going to win. Because it's a different game and they're potentially playing a different way and making different adjustments. So I'm not going to go that far. I know you hate the Knicks, so you wanted to go that far, but I will say that stuff mattered throughout this series. It really mattered. I want to say one thing about TJ real quick. I want to say one thing. Sometimes you have to get on these podcasts or, studio shows and calling games, and you just have to be honest. You have to be honest about players. And, I think we both try to come at this with no agenda. Mm-hmm. It's also, I think, a point of ours, and I know with Doris, because we talk about this all the time, it's a point of ours that we celebrate players as well. We celebrate the good in the game. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the good is the greatest players. It's very easy to celebrate those guys. I've said this publicly before, and I want to say this one more time. I'm sitting there courtside. TJ's he's literally, when I say this, I mean it literally. Like, he is like a brother to me. All right. He is one of my closest friends. I love that dude. I think he's one of the most outstanding human beings I've ever met in my life. You brought up the Arizona thing. It made me think of something. I remember watching his last college game and had started watching Arizona a little bit that year. And I remember him walking off the court and he was emotional. And I remember thinking, man, that guy's never going to play in the NBA. He's never going to have a game as big as that. I thought, and I've told him this. And I told him it when I first got to Philly. I was like, dude, I'm so happy that you're in the NBA. I think it's incredible. For me to sit there today, this is, I think, our 4th game of the series that I called. For me to sit there today and watch a friend, a brother, just put on that performance in the Garden in a Game 7 to help his team get to the conference finals. Bro, it was he came over to me after the game and said, I love you. I said, I love you. Like, man, I love sports. I really do. His story is incredible, man.
It is. And obviously that's when they had, I believe it was Aaron Gordon, maybe Stanley Johnson. That was around that era with all those guys, and they were loaded. And I was like, Arizona hasn't been to a Final Four since I was there. It's just like, what the hell? And so we had these rosters. They lose to Kaminsky. They lose to Decker. It was like Wisconsin both years. And we were in like Anaheim. So it was like home games for us. So it was like teed us for us to go back to a Final Four. And he just watching him, because Arizona used to be a point guard university. It used to be. It was Mike Bibby. It was Steve Kerr. It was, Jason Terry. Damon Stoudemire. Like, go down the list. Like, we started with the point guards, then the wings wanted to come play with the point guards, and we got whatever bigs we could.
Did
right?
You say Khalid Reeves, by the way?
Khalid Reeves average. He still has a single season scoring record there. So it's just like when Kenny Lofton, like, you go back and look at the history, there's just guards. He was a part of that. Jason Gardner, shout out our guy. He was a part of that group, and I recognized that. And so when he went to Philly and he got invited, I think he got invited to camp. And once I saw, maybe it was a preseason game or something. He did something very early on, and I'm like, they're going to love this kid because he knows how to run a team. I've watched him manage the game multiple times. I'm like, he's going to do it. Now, did I think he would be this? No. But if you tell me that he could have been an Ish Smith and been a backup point guard for 12 teams in 15 years, yes, and both of us both agree that's a fucking amazing career. That's an amazing career. But once he got there, I was like, oh, they're going to love him. I'm like, just his energy, his everything, the way he plays, the way he knows the game, and then he's just a full court pest, right? I was, that was the part that I thought that he had a good chance once he got invited to the camp because he is that type of guy. I didn't foresee this success, but to your point, shout out him because so many guys don't understand how hard it is to get these opportunities and to get in here and then to maximize those moments. It has been, I've watched him afar for a very, very long time and always appreciated what he did and brought to the game. He's the type of backup point guard you'd want to play with.
Rick said this to us before the game, and I'll co-sign this. He's a totally different person on and off the court. He is just gentle and kind, and I'm trying to think of the right word to not throw him under the bus, but he's
like a buttercup.
Yeah, he's just sweet. He's just a sweet, sweet man. And on the court, he's a tornado. He's a tornado on the court.
He's annoying. That's why I said that's why I said they're gonna love him. Because like those are the guys you hate to play against, but you love that they're on your team, right? It's like a quiet version of Pat Bev, right? It's like it's like you love to have those guys on your team. So that's where it's like, yeah, his personality is very, very different off the court. But I've watched him run teams. I watched him run Arizona with NBA players and battle against other NBA players, Kaminsky, Decker, and Wisconsin. I watched him battle against these guys toe to toe. So like, if you're telling me that these guys are future first round picks, this guy is a future. He has a potential to be a backup because he was managing the game, running the game, making the plays. And so I always respected his game from afar.
A few other guys just to mention, Myles Turner had a rough game too. I think it was game two. Yeah, game two. But at least in the games I called, he was super impactful at the rim, shooting the basketball. Aaron Nesmith, to me, he got a ton of credit already, and I'll give him more just for his on-ball defense and the change that Rick Carlisle made with him moving to Brunson going into game three. But it was more than that to me. Like this guy had 19 points on the road, 8 of 8 from the field in a game 7. And
more easy shots.
The multiple times throughout this series, you have to be as tough or tougher than the Knicks to beat them. This is the guy getting an offensive rebound that he has no business getting. This is the guy getting a loose ball that he has no business getting. This is the guy getting an and one when there's a lot of contact. Like he had a tough series. And then with Nembhard, to me, as a young player, all this chatter about Jalen Brunson, you're down 2-0, Jalen Brunson. And then the coach says, all right, we're moving you off Jalen Brunson, right? And there was no loss in confidence. He hits the game winner in game 3. And then the last 4 games, he was more than solid. To be able to get essentially 14 assists or 14 points and 5 assists a game on good efficiency from your 5th, probably the 4th option in the starting lineup. I thought the dude was just amazing. I really did, and he's tough. He's tough.
Again, I don't know who was the person that you referenced before as a part of a team.
What?
Was it? Oh yeah, the Alfred. So the Alfred part. You need supporting cast guys. You're not going to win game 7s. You're not going to win. You're not going to win multiple playoff series. It's never just the stars. That is the biggest. The stars will get. What the hell is so funny?
Are you trolling me right now? What are you saying? You went on this whole thing about how that you didn't know what I was talking about with Alfred's.
And I just asked you what you were
just click. Did it just click?
No, I said, what was the thing that you referenced? I don't know. I'm trying to use your reference. Anyways, My point is this. It is the stars. The stars are going to do it. But to me, in a 4-game series, and this is kind of your stars have to win you 2 games. 2 games. Your stars have to win you 2 games. Your others have to win you 1, and you have to kind of win a game that you're not supposed to. Right. You have to win. Like to me, that's normally the collection of 4 games that win a series. Your 2 stars played big because if your stars play bad for 3 games, it's hard. You're not winning a series. That's hard to do. So it's like your stars have to win you 2 games. Your supporting cast has to win you 1. And then you have to win a game where you shoot 25% from 3. You have to win a game where you get out rebounded or guys were in foul trouble. That's the formula. And it was Nesmith, it was Nembhard, it was TJ McConnell. When you have those 3 guys, that's the difference in the series to me. And the Knicks just didn't have the depth. Alec Burke came up, gave him some great moments, right? You're almost kind of like, you might have been able to use him earlier. That's the one thing. It's like, it's not like he just learned how to play basketball in the last week and a half. It's like, you might be able to use him earlier. So that would be the one thing. But no, you're right. The stars got to do it, but there has been a lot of supporting cast guys that have been the difference makers, series to series to series. I feel like we talk less about stars in between the game 2, game 3, game 4. We're talking less about stars and about the difference makers around them.
Yeah, and also, some quick love to Obi Toppin, who didn't have a huge game today, but
he went between his legs in a playoff game.
No. But he was leading all bench players in total points. Last thing I want to say, and we'll jump off of here. I thought it was really cool, just the standing ovation that a bunch of the Knicks guys got at the end of the game when they were taken out. And obviously, Jalen, unfortunately got hurt and didn't get to have that moment. My hope is, and I know Knicks fans are frustrated, my hope is that you will celebrate this group and that you will remember this group fondly. You and I have been around basketball a long time. And I would say this group, because of the injuries, because of what they were asked to do at times, they maximized the group. And that is all you can ask for as a fan. And I'm not a Knicks fan by any means. I certainly love Josh and Jalen, but I think as a fan of basketball, when a team maximizes the group, you see it, you applaud it, and you celebrate it.
I couldn't agree more. Shout out everyone. It was special. It was special to watch those guys do what they do. You feel bad because you said maximized, and you're right. They maximized 100%, but they still felt like they have underachieved. And that's the ultimate mindset of who those guys are. We can all look and say, you guys really did maximize. Look, did this. But to them, in their souls, they still felt like they underachieved. They still felt like they should have won that game. They still felt like they should be still continuing to play. And that's the ultimate compliment to their mindset. Now, as far as celebrating them, they need to be celebrated. No, we have to we can't get up here and give flowers from an intelligent basketball IQ standpoint and not recognize that these are the Knicks fans, right? So what you really say is Knicks fans, be gentle with these dudes. Be nice to these dudes. Show them the love that you guys have showed them. The love can also come in supportive ways. You don't always have to be toxic parents. You don't, Knicks fans. I'm just telling them. I'm saying, because they'll boo you one day. Sometimes you deserve it. They'll cheer you on like no other. Sometimes you deserve it. Knicks fans, I think, have been outstanding in the postseason. They've been less entitled and more supportive. Right. And that's, you can kind of see the vibes flow through. So I got nothing negative to say about anyone in that Knicks organization. And I think, honestly, the Knicks fans should be given love. And you get why they could be so intense given their 20-year droughts.
I've been told by Jason and Richie that we have to do a couple questions. So, Jason, why don't you put those questions up on the screen for us?
I got a question. Yeah, that's lame. I got a question. Hey, Diego, what's up? Alejandro Sally. We're not going to answer that question, but that's a cool question though. Thank you. I think people should talk about that in the comment section. Currently, right? Is there a scroll? I can't see that, but you guys talk about that. Yeah. Steven Swami, That is a great conversation to talk about this. This is what I want to know. I have a question because this has been my take. And then I'm going to go and I'll let you do the fan question. I got to put my kids to bed, bro. It's Sunday.
Bro, it's like 11:30. What time is it anyways?
It's 8:30 here. Anyways, this is my point. I said it a couple of times, and I still feel this, and I felt it in the moment, and it was just like it just became more and more glaring. The OKC Thunder, the fact that they did not add a big to their roster, and the final 4 teams that they were the number 1 seed, they were the best team all year. The final 4 teams, I don't think they would have beat any of the 3. And purely because I think they would have lacked big depth. They wouldn't have had anybody to handle Jokic and Aaron Gordon. And I love Chet, right? There's not a criticism of him. It's just like you need depth. Dallas goes and adds, they draft Lively, they add Gafford, they add a power forward in PJ Washington. So they added size. The Wolves, huge. And we see the difference, and we see why they are huge because they had to beat the defending champ. So for me, I didn't like the fact, and again, I'm just an observer. I'm not questioning Sam Presti, but this is like you can get all the love and have 900 picks, but don't tell me that, oh, well, they're ahead of schedule. Whose schedule? Your schedule? Whose schedule? And I say this purely respectfully of like, Shea was all NBA first team last year. He was MVP candidate this year. You legitimately had a chance to go to the NBA Finals, in my opinion. But this current roster with 1 or 2 simple pieces, you can brag about having 900 first-round picks. Those first-round picks are not all going to be on your roster. They're literally going to be used to pool to get assets around the best players that you can find. So given the deadline, given where they were, given what they were showing, why wouldn't you go get them the necessary pieces? Because you get to the Final 4 in the West, and you could see they weren't going to beat any of the 3 of them because, in my opinion, they lack size. They got murdered on the glass last night. And that was really the difference in the game, the second shots and second opportunities.
Okay.
I
think it's fair that that's a talking point. I think it's fair. I don't have a strong reaction to that is all I'm saying.
I'm not trying to give, I'm just, right. Am I off? How about this? Be my therapist, right? Like I am so oftentimes yours.
Oh,
right.
Give me a break. That's a two-way street, buddy. Yeah.
Just go along with the drill. Okay.
All right.
Am I wrong for feeling that? That they
could
have.
You're not wrong. That's why I said it's a fair talking point. It's a fair talking point.
Okay.
The one thing I'll say, and I mean this, and this is not a knock at any organization, any person. This is how I feel. Because I truthfully, because I lived it in Orlando, and we lose to the Lakers. It's my 3rd year. Jameer's in his 5th year. We've got Richard under contract for a long time. Dwight's in his 5th year. He's clearly ascending to be one of the top 5, if he's not already there, one of the top 5 players in the game. Courtney Lee's starting 2 guard. He's a rookie. And Kobe and Powell beat us. And me, Jameer, and Dwight, we sat and watched them celebrate before I headed back to the locker room. Sat out there on the court for a few minutes. And I remember thinking, number 1, we'll be back. Number 2, we got a long window. We got a big window with lots of time. And we got to the conference finals of the next year, and that window that shut the year after that because LeBron went to the Miami Heat. That's all I'm going to say.
That's my biggest gripe. The windows can
close. All I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Now, is Oklahoma City positioned as well as any team going forward to have a long window? 100%. I'm not saying that.
Like a Boston level window.
I'm totally comfortable saying that. But I agree with you. And the answer to this question, new basketball fan, is most assuredly Richard Jefferson.
Oh, well, yeah, I think our roles would be different if we're talking about Prime JJ, Prime Richard. Our roles would be very different. So again, like, are we going to reference the end of our careers? Or are we going to reference like the prime versions of us?
This has been another Islands Live presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. RJ, I think we should just tell everybody that you have at least verbally committed to doing the rest of these with me. We've got 6 more of these before the NBA finals are over. Huh?
That's not true. That's not true.
Okay. It was in writing though, over a text message.
It's not true, but I will see you next time.
Okay. All right. Bye.